games, but he was back in for this one. It didn't seem to make a ton of difference, did it?
No. So, yeah.
Any particular highlight moments from because all we've seen is the highlights, isn't it? So there should
Yeah,
be some highlights for us to talk about.
yeah, I mean, I'm trying to think now. It's not.
I can't remember. Do you know? I'm trying to think now, and I can't remember much of any of the Catalan's tries. I can remember Niall Eval's try, and he's still a great player, isn't he? Even in a poor side. I mean, what was one of the questions, wasn't it? Like, can he maintain his form from last year? I think he has. It's just that everyone around him possibly has taken a step back or half a step back.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, and it feels like he's been around forever, doesn't it? And he probably hasn't actually been around for as long as it feels like. But yeah, he is a consistent player for Salford.
Yeah, I think because it feels like he's been around for a long time, because Salford don't have that many players that have that longevity within their squad, do they?
Yeah,
so
fair point.
He's probably been there for what, let's say 6 seasons or something, but no one else has been there for that long.
Yeah, no one else comes close, so therefore it feels like, a lot longer.
And he's their top try-scoring player in Super League.
Yeah.
So that just talks to what he's done there. James Maloney looks like he had a good game. You got to see him up close and personal last week. Do you think he's making a huge difference to this Catalan side? Do you think he is giving maybe more freedom to the likes of Tompkins to help kind of open things up more for this side?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, our match against them was a really weird one to judge because of the sort of seesaw of it. But yeah, I think him, and I know people don't like him, but Fallu is a quality player.
Yeah, his physical capabilities are not sort of in dispute, are they?
No, and I think, just his physical presence. They've got so many physically present players, haven't they, that they are able to run over people, but their big players are also skillful players. So it's not just a bullying thing; it's a bullying with skill.
Yeah, and unlike when we see maybe Toronto, maybe a little bit Hull KR, a couple of those sides, when their big men go into contact and then start looking for an offload, you kind of feel like it's very much off script, off schedule. But with Catalan, for years and years now, you've always sort of thought they plan that, and it's part of their script, it's part of their pattern of play, kind of like it used to be for Leeds under McDermott, or those years ago.
Yeah, I think so. And you feel like they're looking for it, and they've practiced how they're actually going to get it, rather than it's just I've managed to get one arm free, I'm going to chuck it out and hope somebody's around.
Yeah.
So and I do, I mean, Tompkins, was beasted by Manu Mao last week, but then he did, going forward, he played well after that. And I think, having the likes of Cassiano and Maloney and other players, it maybe does take a bit of pressure off him.
Yeah, and he had a couple of attacking interventions, but I think what stands out from the highlights for Sam Tompkins, disappointingly on a personal level from him on this one, was the issues going the other way, and he's got that 2-match ban.
I do think he is a much better player going forward than he is in defence.
Yeah, I think that's always kind of been a fair thing to label at Tompkins. His defence has probably improved, but he ain't going to stop Manu Mao. And kind of bit awful the effort he tried to put on to stop. It will have been... Would it have been Kensio's first try? Or Eval's try? I'm not sure. One of the tries, it was poor. I've finally remembered some of the Catalans tries. Matt Whitley claimed two tries from kicks. One, he won the chase to the kick, which is impressive for a back rower, and on the other one, he outjumped the defenders, didn't he? So well done to him, to Matt Whitley.
Yeah, he's a player I like, actually.
Is there anything else we want to pick up on this game other than that we're disappointed that we didn't get to watch it full?
Yeah, I think it's really hard to talk about a match when you are relying on somebody else's highlights.
Especially when we can't get more rounded fan views on, unfortunately, on this one because of just the nature of where it's played. Okay, let's move on to Sunday's game then. It was Wigan 30, Hull Kingston Rovers 16. It was 18-12 to Wigan at half-time, so obviously Hull KR kept this closer than most people expected. Tom Grant was the referee, and 11,511 were in attendance to watch this one. In terms of the stats, some stats were close, some weren't, but that worked both ways. Only 69 metres between the sides, and Hull KR actually made more, but Wigan... with Wigan then barely making ground at a better average gain, 0.1 metres per carry in that's very close. But Wigan made 9 breaks to 2 by Hull KR, although also made 5 more handling errors, which helped keep their scoring down. Hull KR made 13 more successful offloads. Wigan are used to being on the wrong end of the offload count this year, but they couldn't turn them into breaks or scores. Wigan had a 5% better team tackle success rate, Rovers falling under that important 90% mark. Individually, Ginger Pearl Liam Farrell had a try assist, 43 tackles, 5 tackle busts, and 116 metres for a both ways performance from my main man. Sam Powell had a try, 49 tackles and 10 marker tackles. Liam Marshall had a try, 5 tackle busts, 142 metres and 4 clean breaks, and that was on a game where most Wigan fans who watched it would say he was pretty poor. Bevan French had a try assist, 7 tackle busts and 121 metres. For the losing Robins, Ryan Brearley had a try assist, 135 metres, which came combined on that try and try assist, and 2 clean breaks. George Lawler, 121 metres. Elliot Minchella, who started at hooker, went both ways with 40 tackles and 103 metres. And Matty G put in a big effort, 45 tackles, 12 of which were marker tackles.
Yep, fan views, always in our shadow, got in touch and said proper teams will go to the Pie Dome and get beat by a bigger score. Today had to be about keeping the score close and players on the park. Unfortunately, they failed in both. A cup exit awaits next week.
Matt Speakman 20 said, potential banana skin avoided for Wigan without playing well. KR offered nothing in attack, and I think they're the worst team we've played this year. All 3 tries were gifts, and a good side could have put us to the sword. Referee also made some very strange decisions for both sides. The game seemed a bit quick for him, and he was bailed out by good touch judges several times. Hicks and Child were running the line here. Bevan French continues to be a must-watch.
Tom Andrews got in touch and said, sounded a good dig by KR and maybe Wigan not giving us the respect we deserved. Dagger, Staunton and Brearley sounded like they stood out. Shame Wigan had to bring it down to shithouse levels. Attacks to the knees, late hits and surrounding the referee. Experienced players like Flower shouldn't be attacking the knees of young up-and-comers like Staunton. Proves how much of a bell end he is, but everyone already knew that.
White Pie said, too many errors and poor discipline made this harder for Wigan than it should have been. Liam Marshall won't enjoy the video review, and the highlight was French sending the winger to get him a pie in the break for Hastings' second try. Not a great refereeing performance, both sides of the ball, from a young lad who was poorly assisted by his unknown touch judges, Hicks and Child. So, contrasting views on that, but both sort of suggesting that confusing some decisions.
Yes. Sorry, I just got a message then. Paige said, what a sweet end to a lovely weekend. I know our win wasn't exactly glorious, but at least we got a win. Nice to see that revolution still going well at Rovers. The effort was there, but London had that last year and look where they ended up. Got to say that Ben Flower tackle on Matt Staunton looked a bit dodgy. Bet he won't get a ban there. # Rugby League darlings.
And then Tom Andrews, I don't know if this was Tom being back in or someone else pretending to be Tom, but said, having read the injury report after, it seems like playing for KR has a higher mortality rate than coronavirus. I hope the rest of the squad are stocked up on bog roll and pasta. Look, we have to start, don't we, with the disciplinary fallout from this game, I guess, and the injury fallout too. So Ben Flower has been given a 2-match ban for his dangerous contact tackle, cannonball tackle, I suppose you would call it, on Matty Staunton. Hopefully his injury isn't too serious on that one. It was a poor tackle, definitely. I I don't know how much of it was Flowers' first game of the season and he was trying to make an impact, but it's the wrong kind of impact to try and make. And
I think you're just defending a Wigan player there.
I'm not trying to defend him, Sarah, if you let me finish. I'm saying it wasn't the right kind of impact to make. You know, what I would say about Ben Flower is obviously he's got a bad reputation from, 2 instances in his career where he's transgressed, and one was severely punished as he totally deserved to be for what happened in that grand final, and the other one was the red card he got at Warrington a couple of seasons after that. But yeah, he was not right. He was not right in this game at all, Ben Flower. I don't think he offered anything positive really to Wigan, and he had that tackle on Staunton. There was also a late hit on Joe Keys that I'm surprised after the Simbin episode we saw last week. I don't know if you watched that on the R League app, Sarah, but the Simbin with Rod Studd and what's his name? Warrington guy.
Paul
Cullen, yeah. Between those, they talked a lot about these late hits. Now, this one wasn't one of the ones in the back. It was kind of a bit more front side on as Keys went to the line before passing it, but it still was a late hit. I'm surprised he wasn't pulled up for that one too. And then later on in the game, there was an injury to Rob Mulhern, who actually tried to play on after the initial hit, but Oliver Partington's been pulled up on a grade D, so he could get a serious 3 to 5 game ban, I think, at grade D. Is that right? I can't remember.
Yeah, 3 to 5 is a D, isn't it? Because someone was talking about 4 probably being the likely outcome.
Yeah, so I can't remember if he's had any bans before, but obviously people have sort of noticed that he can go heavy into tackles, a bit over enthusiasm, and this one wasn't over enthusiasm. This one was bad. It was Rob Mulhern had made a good run actually. He was carrying a couple of Wigan defenders. There was probably an opportunity to call held that wasn't taken, and there's no excuse. There's no excuse in Partington went in. When I was at the game, the tackle, he came in from the other side from where I was sat, so with 3 bodies in the way, I couldn't see the nature of the contact. But he came in from a distance. It wasn't a passive.
He did come in from a long way, didn't he? Yeah,
and it wasn't kind of a passive kind of wrap the ankles or wrap the thighs kind of tackle that most of these third men in tackles are, and they're okay. They don't cause injury. This one, it wasn't like that. It was, it was a bad hit, and it was just below the knees. It was probably a little bit lower than the Flower one. So neither of those two players get any excuses or any defence from me for what they did, and I was really surprised that Ben Flower didn't see any time in the sin bin, to be honest, because his looked more obvious in the way the game was flowing. I think that's why it maybe got more attention, especially because the player went off straight away from that one rather than trying to play on a little bit before going off. But those two players deserve their bans, and I hope the Hull KR players are back from injury. Well, Ben Flower's tackle on Joe Keys at the time I thought looked worse than actually when I've watched it back, and I understand the kid's got a shoulder and AC joint. I think that's shoulder to me and you, I think, Sarah, injury. So yeah, I kind of think it's the tight line you play when you're a ball player, but it still looked late to me. So Wigan were lucky in that regard, but Hull KR were lucky in that the 3 tries they scored, they were complete breakaways. That, other than Brearley's breakaways and one opportunity in the second half where really good play but just a marginally forward offload from Will Dagger to Minikin prevented a try when it was 30 points to 16. I think there wasn't much creativity or incisiveness to their play, and I mean, if I picked a star men from KR, it'd be in the forwards. It'd be Lawler or it'd be Levette, I think, who were welcome returnees to their side, I would think, from a KR perspective. For Wigan...
So how marginally forward was the forward pass? Because everything I've seen, obviously, has been Rovers biased and, it wasn't forward, or it was, a touch forward and all the rest of it.
Yeah, so there was two forward passes, tries ruled out. One of them, the pass went from, I think, Brearley, through it, and it went behind our winger for their winger to catch it. So anyone who doesn't think that's a forward pass does not understand how positioning on a rugby league field normally works.
But to be fair, that was Wigan's standard pass for a long time.
Oh, come on now, we're not Brent Webb of the Leeds Rhinos. We weren't full of quite quarterbacks to that level.
Some of the passes I've seen, yeah.